All right, I'm going to show you how to create a residential stem wall like this using Revit and avoiding Revit's pretty cumbersome excavation tool. So we're going to avoid Revit's excavation tool because it just doesn't work for most objects. So we're going to create our own void under this house and create a stem wall and footing and show you how to get here. All right, so we'll start by creating a Toposolid. So we first want a Toposolid that has enough depth that we can show our stem wall. We're going to have a stem wall similar to this, and I want to make sure that this Toposolid has enough depth. So we'll start off, I'm going to create a new geometry here. So I'm going to create a new Toposolid. We'll create from a sketch that I'm just going to arbitrarily draw. Now the Toposolid that I've worked on here, this has been edited, so it's not 16 inches. I hit edit type. I'm going to rename this and we'll give it a new, well, rather than renaming it, let's duplicate it and we'll just say 6 foot. So I'm editing this grassland, and to edit the depth of a Toposolid, just go to edit and we're going to set the depth of earth here to 6 feet. Okay, so I have now a 6 foot Toposolid. So when I hit this green check, and if I look at it in 3D, right now I have a section box on. So if I look at it in 3D, it's the proper depth. So that'll be enough when I cut a section through it to show some earth under this foundation. So I'm going to go back into my plan view and I'm going to create a floor. So we'll start with a floor. So go to architecture, floor. Now I'm creating a stem wall, so my slab isn't going to be directly at 0. The top of my finished floor slab isn't going to be at 0. I want it to be off the ground. So my height offset from level, if my floor is going to be 12 inches, so I'm assuming 2 by 10 or 2 by 12 floor joists or TJI floor joists, I'm going to use a generic 12-inch floor. And if the top of that floor is going to be where my wood framing is and lumber, that needs to be 8 inches above the finish or above the grade level. So this height offset from level is going to be 1 foot 8. So I'm going to draw the footprint of the building, creating my floor slab. And you could use any of these tools. I'm just drawing a rectangle. And so when you see it in 3D, there will be a gap here. And that's okay because this is going to be elevated. It's a raised floor condition. It's not slab on grade. So I have the floor. The next thing we're going to do is create a void form. So the void form, we're going to go to component, model in place, and I'm going to just choose generic, make a generic model. We'll call this excavation, call it whatever you want. And I'm going to go to void forms, void extrusion. And what I'm going to do is create a subtraction. So it's going to do a Boolean subtract essentially from this Toposolid. So I want my extrusion start to be 0. So I want it to start cutting at 0 where the top of my Toposolid is, and I want it to cut down all the way to 10 inches. So it'll start cutting at 10 inches, go all the way up to the grade level. And I'm going to select lines. So rather than drawing something manually, I'm going to use this green pick lines component to draw this sketch. I can select either the top or bottom of this. It doesn't really matter because it's projecting it. We've already told it its top and bottom height. And I'm going to hit the green check. And so I've created this void. Before I hit finish model, what I want to do is actually cut this void out from my Toposolid. So I'm going to hit the cut command, then click on the Toposolid, and then click on this void I just created. And now when I hit finish model, it's done doing the subtracting. And if I ever wanted to change this, I could select that void, go to edit in place, and I could modify this and it would change the subtraction. So it's a nice parametric tool. I'm going to discard that. So I've now excavated 10 inches into the ground. And so my next step here is to create my stem walls. So I'm going to use the structure wall. We're going to make structural walls. I could go generic, but I want to see a concrete hatch when I cut through it. So I'm going to say foundation 10-inch concrete. I've customized this, so I'll show you how to do that. I hit edit type. I'm going to say duplicate, and I'm going to just rename this. So this will say 8-inch version 2. So to edit this, I'm going to go to edit, and concrete is just monolithic. It's not like there are layers to this assembly. So I'm just going to set this depth to 8 inches. So with that selected, my base offset is going to be negative 10 inches. And it's going to go up to level 1. And I want to use my finish face interior. And I'm going to use this green line again. And I'm going to go in and select each of these edges. And you'll notice it's not going all the way up to our floor, and I'll show you how to solve that in a second. So hit escape when you're done. Select each of these, hold control. And I'm going to use this attach top base. With top selected, I'm going to click on the floor, and it just attached those stem walls to this floor. So now if I move the floor up, let's say this is 3 feet, it'll move the stem walls with it. Okay, so now we have a parametric relationship set up there. But I have my 8-inch wide concrete stem walls. And now I want to create the footings. So if we go back to what that section looked like, this is what we're going for. We want a footing here. So the footing I created is 12 inches by 6 inches. So we'll go back to this. I'm going to strike a section through this so we can see it. I'm going to go to view, actually go to my floor plan, go to view tab section, and I'm going to cut a section through this. Okay, so zooming in, I'm going to set this to 1/4 inch so the scale makes a little more sense. And I'm going to go to structure, wall. So this is going to be the structural foundation wall. And I can select one of these and edit it. So I'm going to go to edit type, always duplicate so that you create a new version. Mine's going to be 12 inches by 6 inches. And our dimensions are going to be 1 foot by 6 inches. All right, so with that selected, I can now select each of these footings or each of these stem walls, and it creates a footing underneath it. Confirm, yeah, that's 8 inches. So proportionally, this does look off. I'm going to change this. Let's set this to, we'll make this 1'4". And again, I'm not doing any structural engineering here, just eyeballing this size. That looks a little better. I think that depth should probably be as wide as our width of that wall. So I'm going to make this 8 inches. And in doing so, let's rename this. We'll say 16 by 8. So 16 by 8. And that looks better proportionally. And so I'm going to do the same thing here. It looks like it's already updated that. All right, so we have our footings. And the other thing we want to do while we're in this view, I want to get rid of this earth hatch in front of the stem wall and in front of the footing. So I'm going to use the cut command, which I can get to by going to modify, cut. First select the thing you want to subtract from, and then select the thing you want to subtract with. Same thing here, subtract from, subtract with, and now we have a footing here that is not being covered by an earth hatch. And just to articulate this a little better, this is what we're looking at. And if we're seeing this stem wall in the background, which we really shouldn't, that should just be white. We can change the view depth. Right now our far clip offset is 106. So let's set this to 4 feet. So what it's going to do is it's going to, instead of just projecting, visually seeing everything as far back as possible, we're now only seeing 4 feet in depth. So if that stem wall is beyond 4 feet, we're not going to see it. Okay, so be aware that this may affect, the rest of your design. You're not going to see as much. So play with that until you don't see your far stem wall, but you still see the rest of your section as you've cut it in your model. Okay, so on top of this, we'll build our walls. So we can go to architecture, go to walls, and I'm just going to use this pick lines, and I'm going to use a generic 6-inch wall. And we want this to be finish face exterior. Oh, it was going all the way to the ground. We want our base offset will be 20 inches because that's our finished floor level. It's doing it on the wrong side, so I'm going to say Finish face interior. All right, and for some reason, if the bottom of your wall wasn't attaching to this floor, you can always select all of these, go attach top base, and before you do anything, make sure it's attaching the base to your floor. And now with that clicked, if I move my floor up, again, 3 feet, it adjusts my wall height as well. My walls are now stuck and attached to that floor. All right, so make sure to cut a section the other way too. So I'm going to go to View, Section, cut a section looking this way, because we want to modify the, double click it, we want to modify and create the footings for these stem walls as well. I'm going to set this to 1/4 inch scale. We're going to go to Structure, Wall, with our 16 by 8 selected. I'm going to click on each, and we're going to subtract using the cut. So I'm going to go to Modify, Cut, select the Toposolid, then select the footing, select the Toposolid, then the footing. And once again, we're going to set our far clip offset to 4 feet so that we don't see the concrete hatch of this in the background. And this dash line, this is just the level. So always in sections and elevations, I like to pull these over to the side. Make sure it's set to 2D before you do anything. Make sure both of those say 2D. Otherwise, you're changing a 3-dimensional plane when you do this. So now we don't have that dashed line. This other section, I'm going to pull this up and use the lightning bolt to trim it, pulling that up so that this is above and below. But that's going to give us the condition we want, where we have a stem wall, a footing, a floor slab here. That's not a floor slab, it's a floor joist with structure that we can build up as we draw details. We can put insulation in here and do the rest of this. But our dimension from earth to wood is 8 inches, and this should give us an 18-inch crawl space, which is the minimum that we're looking for here in this case. All right, hope this was helpful.